Hey, so this show, we use adult language from time to time. So don't say we didn't warn you, and have fun if you like that. And don't have fun if you don't like that.
Yeah, don't have fun if you don't like fun.
Welcome to Reef Beef. My name is Ben.
My name is Rich.
And today we're going to be talking about troubleshooting systems. We're going to talk about an install that I did. Richard has a beef or two. And we're going to talk about the Reef Beef secret mechanical filter. This show is sponsored by saltwateraquarium.com. It is powered by PolypLab, and it is also sponsored by Champion Lighting.
Ooh.
What's going on, baby?
Getting the battery backup system for the tank up and running.
Whoa. I cannot wait to do a show on that.
The short answer is I've got everything on it running without even it being in an emergency mode. It's just running like it's normally in. I just unplugged the line to the controller. So what's on the battery backup now is using the battery. And I started that at about 9 o'clock this morning, and it's 9, 10, 11, 12, 1, 2, 3, 4. It's 7 hours later, and I haven't even used a quarter of the battery. I guess this is going to rock.
I was about to ask you if it was like, well, I mean, that's past proof of concept, but it's just like sort of exercising it, making sure it does what it does.
I just wanted to see how long the battery would last and what the machine would do if I took it off of mains power. And so I got an idea of how many watts I'm actually pulling. So if everything, which is and I added some more stuff because of this. I have 12 wave pumps that are on the system. I have one Fluval C SB6. I have one old Eheim that's been running for 1,000 years. And then I put 2 Ethernet switches, my mesh network, one node, and I put my router on it. And if I've turned all that on at 100%, it's like 400 watts, which is not as much as I thought it was going to be.
But no skimmer?
No, I don't care about the skimmer.
Okay, just the stuff you want to run.
In a power outage.
Yeah.
Yeah. So clearly already I've gotten 6, almost 7 hours.
But lights?
No lights. It's a power outage, right?
Okay.
I mean, if it's going to be days, something else is going on. But if it's going to be days, I'm probably not running lights anyway. If the lights are out for 3 days in your tank, you're fine. You know, it's not, your corals are not going to die with 3 days of not light. The only thing that gets weird is heaters in a longer one. But it looks like I've got some space to be able to run some heaters, and I've also got a generator. So it's pretty awesome.
That's crazy. That sounds better than a generator, because with a generator, you would have to have, you know, gasoline on stock. And then if this was like, if you were storing the gasoline, you'd have to put stabilizer in it.
Yeah. And I don't, my generator, by the way, is dual fuel. So I'll run it probably on propane because you can store that easier. I have not spun that thing up yet. But the cool thing about this is I don't have to be here. It automatically, you know, tied into and it looks like all my worry about tying all this into the apex and making, you know, having them drop to 50%. I probably bought a big enough battery that I don't have to do that.
Oh, wow.
That because I just wanted to see what's happening today. So I didn't set anything to, you know, emergency 50% or whatever. So it's freaking great. So clearly it's going to do what I want to do. I got some more stuff to do to it, and then we'll have Telegram on because he really knows.
Yeah.
I know what I did and why I did it, and I can explain that. But if you're going to ask me questions about backup, it's like, I'm going to just refer you to him.
No, we're going to have a whole show. We're going to bring Jim Telegram back, and we're going to have a whole show about this whole battery backup power, because it seems like an emerging thing that just recently like sort of became possible without a bunch of DIY stuff going on.
Yeah, I talked to Jim the first time I talked to him. It was about that. I was like, I don't want to do anything. You know, I had to do stuff, but I didn't have to like figure anything out. Battery, it's got a breaker in it already, connected the battery, added a cord to the MPP, plugged it in, and I haven't changed a single thing that came out of the box. All the changes I did were on the Apex side, making sure, you know, putting all of the waves on their own one link, so they're getting power from the battery. So we'll see what else I end up putting on the battery, because clearly I've got capacity.
Yeah.
And it's great too. If we have a real power outage, I can add more plugs and run whatever we need run. So
yeah.
I am really happy about this, because we usually will only get an hour or two power outage and nothing should blink. I'm thrilled. Can't wait to talk about it more. I also did a video of my tank. I did a walkthrough of things I have to do. The display tank, literally, I have not put my hands in it since before Christmas.
Really?
Yeah, I have not cleaned the algae. I've not done anything since before Christmas, and some stuff really needs to be done. So we'll put that video up. I'm working it out with Snowman how that should go up.
I used it. I redid the
saltwateraquarium.com is the place to be if you are cool.
We have just the best songs for our sponsors.
You know what? Okay. I'm sort of joking here, but I'm saying, like, I almost don't need to read this ad, because I recently had a new client that I sent to saltwateraquarium.com and he dropped 3K. So that's the commercial.
That's the commercial. Oh, don't we have? We off at Saltwater Aquarium, they got all your shit. They get it to you fast. They're great. Go there. Let them know that we sent you. And what we usually ask is, if you have time or an inclination, there is a place on your order at saltwateraquarium.com where you can put in notes.
Oh,
and
can you read that?
And we ask you to put in notes about Reef Beef, because, you know, they're sponsoring us, and that's great. And that's going to get Snowman a computer, because he needs one, because his exploded, or theirs exploded. And anyway, so we got this from Kenneth. Kenneth forwards them to us. And here's the one that was forwarded to him recently. So I am one of the 3 people who listen to those Reef Beef asshats on the internet. While looking over my tank, I might have found an Optasia, though it might have been hiding. I was looking on forums and was about to drain all the water and pour gasoline over my tank and light it on fire, more than likely burning down my house. Then I listened to these 2 chodes, and they said not to do that, but just to treat the one spot. Being they say that F everything else, I figured I would try F Aptasia and get it from their go-to saltwateraquarium.com. I'm glad these guys are out there putting out prime beefy advice, preventing me from burning down my house. Reef Beef, because other reefing shows are for babies.
That
anyway,
is rad.
That seems to tickle saltwateraquarium.com. I would like to see one that uses no profanity. Who can make the cleverest one that isn't profane? Well, 1 or 2 little.
Yeah, like make it feel profane without using profanity.
Or do what Ben just said. Saltwateraquarium.com. They're great. We've used them forever, and we appreciate their support.
I used it. I redid the.
It's kind of crazy. Last week I did a install of a used system, but it's sort of a long story that I want to condense down to be shorter. What?
Okay.
It's a client I used to have years and years ago, and he's sort of a crazy, I think he's like a barge pilot in the shipping channel.
A barge pilot. Okay.
And so he's like a boat captain, but they move like gravel and coal and stuff like that around. But it's one of those deals where, like, you know, he called me and, you know, asked me about a new reef system. And my new from scratch reef systems that I do, that can be pretty expensive. So he's like, well, what if we got used? And I was like, I don't care, as long as I can make something good out of it and you're paying me what I'm asking to be paid. So it's funny, he paid me a retainer, and then he started like throwing all these used systems that he was finding. And it did become pretty annoying, because I was like, he's asking me, what about this one? It has a this and a that. And I get mad at used systems you find online. I get mad at the equipment because people are acting like all this stuff is cool. And since I'm in the business, I'm just like, there's like a lot of Kessels out there, and I like Kessels, but there's a lot of Kessels out there. And then someone will randomly have like something like Aquarium circulation pumps, which I despise, and they couch it all. Of course, you're selling your stuff used. You're trying to put it in the best light.
Yeah.
So, and my guy is like, what about this one? What about this one? What about this one? I was right on the verge of being like, dude, I need more consultation money because this is just lame. I'm trying to run around clean aquariums. You're bombarding me with all these jacked up used systems. But there's all these weird scenarios out there that people put in the ads, like a divorce and a bankruptcy and all this. There's tons right now because of COVID and because the economy's weird. There's people that bought all this stuff and they're just dumping it. Like, I'm sure every local city, anyone that's watching this, there's like a deluge of like used equipment online.
Yeah, I think there always is. I think that with the hobby, first of all, I'm so sorry that client kept dumping used systems for you to vet for them. It's always so much harder because it's like, oh, well, they've got one thing.
Yeah.
But I don't want the rest of it. I think there's always, because the hobby has been billed the last 5, 8, 10 years, at least, as something that's super easy. And it's just, I think people get in and they don't do what you and I have been saying, which is get something under 30 gallons and know that it's going to be hell for 6 weeks, 6 months, and then decide what you want to do. They jump into a giant system and then they go, wait, this is work.
Which, Richard, I think you and I forget this all the time because I'm seeing through my own lens of, all this experience I have and what I can do to a system in what amount of time. But we forget, like, people like, oh, I've always wanted an aquarium. And here on Facebook Marketplace, there's this guy had a wonderful aquarium. And so you forget people get these systems but they don't have the like working knowledge that we have. So
right.
Not only that, but it's like, they don't even know what they're doing. So, you and me are talking about getting an aquarium looking nice in 6 months. That I'm not trying to be mean, but there's people that are probably never getting the tank to look good. I mean, or it would take 5 years because they're learning as they got this stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a weird thing.
So anyways, just to wrap up my install thing, it was sort of crazy because we did end up getting, I don't know if everyone knows what, but you have these sort of all encompassing systems like Red Sea, like Waterbox, like Cade, but there's one that's distributed out here called Neptunian Cube. It comes from China, and they're okay, but that's what we ended up getting. And anyways, it was sort of funny because I go pick it up from Magnolia, Texas, and drive clear across Houston, and he's in Porter, Texas, and I put it in his house. And, meanwhile, he wasn't there. He's like piloting coal around in the Gulf. And, and he asked me, like, what did I think? And I was like, well, I think it needs a this and a that and a this and a that. He ends up spending $3,000 at saltwateraquarium.com. He actually calls Kenneth himself and has like a 30-minute conversation with Kenneth. And he tells, Kenneth that I'm doing his tank, I'm Ben's boy and we're going to do all this stuff. But he made Kenneth mad. I mean, happy. He dropped $3,000.
Sweet.
Got a whole Neptune and
buy Kenneth a new gold tooth.
Yeah. Maybe Kenneth will finally let his grandfather out of the closet by now. But anyways, it's going to be interesting. I'll wrap it up with this client. I'm not making fun of him, but he's already one of the first things he wants to purchase, but he can purchase them. We're going to hold on to him because I'm not going to introduce him anytime soon. But he wants a large red. We just bought it today. A large red carpet anemone and a large blue carpet anemone. And he's getting a lightning maroon pair to be in there.
Okay.
But the problem is he wants this like a trio of lineatus, like a lineatus wrasse, and he wants a rhomboid wrasse. And I'm trying to tell him, like, with 2 carpet anemones in the tank, anything but the clowns is in danger at all times. And I mean, and rhomboid wrasses aren't cheap
or smart. That's the right anemone for the maroon clown, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a sticky ass, mean ass anemone.
That I am now today, after a week of doing this, I've now, like, what is the word, absolved my mind or whatever. Like, I have warned him so many times that I love that he's getting carpet anemones and I want to be around them, and I'm happy because it's something different. I get to be around, hadn't gotten to be around carpets in a long time, but they will literally suck up any fish that he puts in there. Eventually, it's gonna happen, man. It's gonna happen.
It's gonna eat something.
Yeah.
How big is the tank?
It's 120 gallons, but it's 5 foot long. But
So
the
like
red one
mine.
I just bought today is this big,
Yeah,
about
fun.
16 inches.
Where'd you get it?
From my buddy here in Houston, the Obergasses,
Oh, yeah,
unlimited
that's
color
great.
corals.
I'm looking for weird ass anemones. If they get any, let me know.
Like weird types.
Like the weird one I have up there. I'd like another few of those.
Oh, I used to have that octopus anemone.
That thing's lame.
It was terrible because it would hide a bit, and then I found it one time and it had a mountain of snail shells around it. It was killing
Yeah.
all my snails.
And they also will sting your genitals.
Yeah, don't put them in your trousers.
No, they'll come out of the tank. This is no mind story. This is truth.
An octopus will, but not an octopus anemone.
Oh, you don't know what you're talking about, Ben.
For a second, I wanted to believe you.
We should have opposite days one day. Hey, there's one other thing going on that I didn't update you on. It's the babies.
Oh, yeah.
I gotta feed them right now. Can you see this?
Yeah, but your audio is horrible, but go ahead.
I'm far away from the camera.
Yeah, shout.
Okay.
Shout at the devil.
Here.
Is that chum?
Here's a cup of a bunch of foods that I feed my baby corals. And this is the 3rd feeding today.
What, 3rd? Holy cow. That's tied into your entire system, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, so it gets filtered.
Can you see that going in?
Majorly. It's like Thanksgiving on the reef.
Yeah, I'm telling you, man. This heterotrophic feeding is no joke.
Like, they have to eat, bruh.
Oh man, there's a bunch of extra.
Wait, you say heterotrophic feeding, but they have contained zooxanthellae inside of them, right?
Some of them have, some of them haven't, which is weird. Some of them have,
but not enough to be autotrophs.
Yeah, and there's also I don't want the light on. The light makes algae, and algae fights and tries to win and kill coral. So I'm keeping the light low. The only reason the lights are kind of on, as you can see, is because I have some frags in there. I had some mother colonies in there. And I moved them out and put some PDAM in there because PDAM sheds out a lot of zoaks.
Yes. So, that's true.
I'm bringing the lights back down again. They don't need a lot of light right now. Once they're established, great. And also, I found that when they're settled on coralline algae, I think the coralline might actually produce something to make them not stick on. They come off of coralline pretty easily sometimes. But anyway, I promise one day I'll have the video and we'll do a spawning show.
One day.
But I just whenever I'm feeding, I love it because it's a lot of food. And then I have to go baste everything off so it's not dusty in a couple hours.
I used it. I did. I redid the.
Powered by PolypLab. Powered by PolypLab. PolypLab is our buddies, and they make many things that Richard and I use.
We're going to talk about Reefroids today because this jar of Reefroids was empty, and I had to open up one of these to pour it into that jar. And I'm talking about Reefroids because I fed it to baby aquapora corals over there during the show. So yeah, we use it. We like it.
Richard, oh my God, this might cause a longer conversation, but can I suggest that if you get that big package of Reefroids, if you could keep that in the fridge or freezer, don't you think that would make it last
Probably.
longer?
I keep it pretty airtight and I go through it pretty quickly. So thanks, PolypLab. We're happy to be powered by you, powered by PolypLab.
I used it. I did. I redid the.
Hey, Richard.
Yes, Benjamin.
Do you know that Reef Beef has a secret weapon?
I don't. I do. It's my secret weapon.
You know what I'm talking about. I have mine in the car. I guess I should have brought it. But anyways, we'll put a picture. We'll put a link to it. Anyways, Richard.
Mine in the other room. I've been using them for years.
Richard has been using this filter for years, and I think he had told me about it before, and it's not like I dismissed it, but I was like, yeah, okay, blah, 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 blah. I think something happened like a couple months ago, and I was like, you know what? I'm going to get that thing so Richard will shut up. I got this thing, and they're not a sponsor, nothing like that, but it's from Marineland, and it is just a simple canister. It couldn't be any more simple. A canister with a pump that's built into a housing, and it comes with, you know, sort of like an internal filter that you could put carbon or something in there, and then a foam sleeve around it. And that's not the important part. The important part is it also comes with I believe it's a 25 micron or maybe 20 micron pleated cartridge.
It's hard to tell what it actually is. It's just a micron cartridge, they call it. I don't know what it.
But it's like a polishing filter. I don't know that I would leave it on a tank, but see right there, and it hoses off real easily. Anyways, I am in love with this thing so much that it is actually become. It's changed the way I clean a tank, and it has actually become an integral part of my service.
That makes me so happy. Because here it is. It's called the Marineland polishing filter, right? So it's got a maxi jet on top, and then it's got a canister that hooks directly to it.
So easy, just.
So you put the filter goes in the canister. And it's actually kind of see-through. And you hook it up, and you fill it with water, and you plug it in, and there you go. I added one of these algae-free Sure Grip magnets that I had laying around to it. So it's magnet mountable, right? Punk. There you go. And man, they're the best thing ever. It's essentially a diatom filter without the diatoms, which is fine. You could add diatomaceous earth to it, be kind of a pain in the ass, but you could. And I just use them for everything. Storming a tank, whenever I want actual mechanical filtration, I use that. I use it all the time in these tanks behind me because I stir them up and then I want to suck everything out. And I often am running it in with the babies.
You know what's sort of surprising? The pump on the top, it's a little stronger than it looks.
Yeah, it's not weak. I mean, it's like a MaxiJet 1200.
But no, it's a little stronger than a 1200. No, I would say that it's a lot stronger than a 1200.
You're telling a mind story.
It's a mind. I promise you, it's stronger than
because when's the last time you ran a fucking MaxiJet?
Probably 2007.
Yeah, so what the hell? Idiot. I love it.
But so I mean, normally, you know, I go in to do an aquarium, the water's mixed, whatever, I'm stirring stuff up, I'm testing things, I'm doing all this. Now what I do, I drive up, you know, to someone's house or a business, the first thing I do is situate this thing in the tank. I do all it hasn't lengthened any time that I do anything. It's just, you know, I have it in there, and I still do all my stuff that I do. Now, when I used to clean an aquarium, by the time I'm leaving out, you know, if it's a newer client, I always remind them, because it's always a little cloudy. I got in there and stirred stuff up, and, you know, hey, don't worry, it'll clear up in a couple hours. It'll be good. Go, yeah, thanks. Now with this polishing filter, when I leave, I don't have to have that conversation because it's generally like crystal clear when I leave.
Yeah, yeah.
Someone would be thinking, about transferring disease and all that. What I do, that pleated cartridge, it cleans easily. But
If you clean it right away.
yes.
Right. I let it run for days and weeks, and then it's much harder to clean. So I just bought like 20 of the filters once. And
I clean it
for those
right away. And the reason is because, I'm going from saltwater to saltwater. So I take it outside and everyone's got a spray nozzle on their hose. I blast it. Not only that, but then, when I've blasted it clean, and you can do that in like 1 minute, I fill the canister back up with tap water, close it, put it in a bucket. And from the time I go from that client to the next client, 15 minutes, 30 minutes, something like that. I mean, a 15 to 30-minute bath in chlorinated tap water. And then I dump it when I'm at the next one. Not that I know of, there's no disease that's going to live through that.
except insta fish and coral death.
Thanks for your vote of confidence. Anyways, It's great. And then, there's another thing I'll do. I mean, this is pretty common, but, I'll set it in the tank, and then I'll take a turkey baster and I'll hit someone's substrate, and it just pumps out all this crap and sucks it right up into there. Again, we're not talking about this because it's a sponsor, they paid us or none of that. It's this little miracle thing that I don't know that all that many people know is out there.
Yeah, I've been talking about it for years because I started using them again probably in 2018, maybe before, because they used to make the Magnum hot filter, which was the canister filter but it hung on the tank,
and the hoses and crap were frustrating.
Well, on the hot one, they just went up and over. It wasn't that big, but still, it was a pain in the butt. And then I saw this thing and then I was using like Aqua Clear hang-on filters, and it was like, this is just they're not enough, and I don't need them all the time. And I got this thing of water I got to balance, and when I go to clean it, and then I saw this thing and I was like, oh, and so I've been using them and talking about them, and they're just great. I had one of the tanks behind me. One time I came back from a trip and it was just covered in hair algae, like everywhere. So I pulled all the hair algae out with my hand as much as I could. And then I went at everything else with a brush inside, left the corals in place, didn't care, put the polishing filter on, came back in the morning, and there was no hair algae left. It had unwrapped itself from the corals and all went into this filter. And then I just tossed. I actually didn't use the micron filter for that. I just used the regular. But it's great. And then, for storming and for spot carboning, if you think you've got a problem and you want to run carbon, in one place, boom, it's running instantly, and it's not passive. It's just, there's 1,000,007 uses for this thing, and I love it. And it's not a MaxiJet. If they listen to this, the guys from, what is it, Spectrum brands now, they go, well, it's not a MaxiJet. I don't know what it is. It's a filter.
I promise you, it's more powerful than a MaxiJet.
Yeah, I know.
It's funny.
Ben,
I thought
Ben knows, because he remembers from 50 years ago how much a MaxiJet
blowing against my hand.
Yeah.
It's funny though. I thought I was coming upon. I was like, oh, Richard, look what else it does. Because a couple of weeks ago, I had a tank that had, that's like struggling with some red planaria, but I don't want to really do the salifert. And I was like, oh, you can capture, red flatworms in here. And I did that, and it seemed like it was cool. But then I came back to that tank 2 weeks later, and the red planaria are like, how you doing, sir?
Yeah.
I was like, okay.
It will catch them.
It'll catch them, but
it's not gonna, like, you could put it on with carbon in it, or you could run it without carbon during flatworm exit treatment, and it will capture the floating flatworms. It's not going to do anything from the toxin, and then swap it out for the carbon insert that comes, comes with a cage to put carbon in it. I just think they're so useful, especially if you're not, like me, a fan of mechanical filtration 24/7 on your tank.
Well, and it's just like a roller mat, it's the perfect form of mechanical filtration, which is do it for a couple hours and pull it out.
Right. And then you're done. And it's not passive, you know. I just think they're great. They're great. They're great.
They will. I don't know. I'm not sure if Reef Beef could like show them a bump in sales or something, but that'd be funny. Like they're sitting in the office and then their computer starts going, ding, 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 ding. What's going on?
Well, I'm going to reach out to them because I talk to them at MACNA. Every time I see them, I go, this is the best thing ever. It's in my talk again this year, and nobody knows about this filter.
That's what I'm saying. It seems like they should market it. And it's like, you know, this random little YouTube show, Reef Beef, is like, wow.
They should, and I'll get in touch with them, and tell them about this because it's always fun. They should call it, maybe they could change it to the Reef Beef polishing filter, and then yeah. I don't know how they would advertise that. It's got to be a thing people want to use for whatever reason, and I think it's got 1,001 uses.
I do too, but it's sort of like a mouthful to talk someone into thinking about it, you know, because I know people like, oh, do you do this? And already in our Discord, we sort of talked about it in our Discord, and several of the Discordians, the Reef Beef Discordians, are like, you know, got it. And they're like, do you do this? And it's like, no, you just do this. And it's like, you know, people figuring out their own ways.
Yeah. The magnet, I think, is the shit. I think if they sold it with a magnet, it would be a lot better. I mean, it would drive up the price, unfortunately, but the suction cups always make me nervous. But I've used the suction cups a few times and it's never let go.
You know, I'm crazy because I ditched that whole armature. And what I do is I let its inertia pushing forward, like lean it against a glass wall inside the tank or a rock or whatever. You have to be sort of careful, because if it starts spinning out, it's just going to, you know.
I would caution you to carry a spring clamp with you and spring clamp the cord to the top.
You can. I've done that with a magnet too.
Whatever you need to do, because if it kicks off and it starts spin and it comes up and it starts spraying water out, that's really not good.
My man, I have done that.
Yeah, that's why I went to the magnet, because I was like, wait, I'm getting sick of like putting this in place and then putting a rock in front of it and making sure it's all good. Oh, wait, the magnet. And I had one. I was like, woo, this is why you don't throw everything away. Although
when I'm throwing
like everything away
by hand too, and I'll make it storm, you know, I'll use it to storm while it's filtering, and then I'll set it in a corner, you know.
Yeah, I think they're great. If you've used one, let us know down below. If you think of something unique to use it for, please let us know, because we think it's a great piece of kit.
It's it costs about what, $60, $80, $70,
$80, something like that. Prices with everything went up recently. I've got like 4 of them because I use them in different places, and I want to always have one. I think I'm getting a second one
because I've even, it's funny. It has more capacity than you think it does, but like I've actually put it on 600-gallon Reef tanks and a 550-gallon freshwater tank, and it did a good job. But I was saying like, oh, I need like, you know, a larger one or several ones for.
Yeah, well, I think that was what they kind of went through, trying to figure out what to do with it. Because if it's larger, I mean, honestly, if I want a larger one, I'm just going to get something like a nuclear canister.
Yeah, exactly.
And put a mag drive on it.
Yeah.
And pump the crap out of it. But you know, for most of the stuff I'm doing now, the 100-gallon tank, 200-gallon tank, 60-gallon tank, they're perfect.
See, this is what I already thought, because I was like, oh, I'm going to tell people about this thing after I sort of fell in love with it. But I mean, man, I've been doing maintenance for a long time. So I've worked at places where that had like things like nuclears on sleds and stuff like that. So I could already foresee some of my like maintenance buddies or maintenance people I didn't even know. Bro, what are you talking about? We've been doing that since blah, blah, blah. And we have this bigger one. Even Lifeguard. Remember Lifeguard had like.
At one of my first jobs out of college at a place called the Animal Connection in San Francisco, I went in there and they were like doing manual gravel vacuuming.
Yeah.
And it was taking forever. And I was like, okay, give me a budget of $600. And I made a Lifeguard sled with it in. And I was like, look, tank done.
Yeah, tank done. But so I know there's that, but to those people that are like, oh, we got a giant one. The thing about this thing is the logistics of it.
Yeah.
It just takes one hand to grab it out of a bucket, put it in a tank, and it's just good enough.
Yeah.
Anyways,
And you don't need the fancy magnet if you want to do the magnet. You can glue or zip tie any magnet you like to the housing, and it'll work just fine.
you could even hire someone to hold it for you.
I think that's probably a better idea, but nobody wants to work.
Yeah, no one wants to work. That's a fact. No
They're
one wants
taking
to
our
work.
jobs. Americans
taking
don't
our
want to hold
jobs.
pumps.
Hey, Richard, do you have a book?
I do have a book. Do you
It's
want me to-
book time. It's book time. We like some books. It's book time. It's book time. Take a look at our books.
My book's first.
Yeah.
My book is going on books that mean something to me. This is Between Pacific Tides by Ed Ricketts. Ed Ricketts? Yeah, it's got to be Ed. It can't be Earl Ricketts. That's weird. And it's about the Pacific Ocean. And I first got this book. It's another book I stole from the library because I'm that kind of guy.
It's a common theme.
I was that kind of kid in LA whenever I was a kid. I went trawling with a friend, Ty Saponchek, who was in college when I was 16, out of a community college on a boat called the Van Tuna. And, I worked with him at Aquarium City, and we went out on this boat and for a class of his, and we made the worst sandwiches we can think of, which I think mine were peanut butter and pickle. And we
I like those.
And we would, as the boat is doing this, we're happily eating our peanut butter and pickle asshole sandwiches.
Yeah.
But Ty actually recommended I get this book to learn about what's in the intertidal zone, around LA. And this book, like the Fish Doctor book, it just sucked me in about all the animals that we could pull up with trawling or that I could go see. So Ricketts, Between Pacific Tides, it's still a useful book.
That's cool.
Yeah, it's got pictures in it, and it talks about all the
Black
life.
and white pictures.
Look, here's a color.
Richard, what was life like in the 1930s?
It was in black and white. It's an awesome book. That's my book.
You should reread it again.
I just did
No, you didn't.
with my other book, my old books.
My
No.
book is Ultimate Marine Aquariums from Paletta.
Mike Paletta,
Do, 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 do.
Aquarist of the Year 2022.
This book was so cool when it came out. I'm not saying it's not cool now, but it's slightly dated because I remember. So I have it wrote down here.
That's
Copyright 2003.
That's what Paletta means, actually, in Italian, means slightly dated.
Slightly dated. Mike, I hope you're watching this.
Oh, he'll
What
watch
a-
this. Someone will tell him and he'll watch it. I might.
It is cool because it takes a couple pages and it's like it's not necessarily a how-to book, but it'll have, like, he went and visited successful reef tanks and then he documented. It's crazy. Each one has like a couple pages. Aquarium profile, owner, location, date established, tank configuration, display dimensions, what they have for circulation, filtration. It has it all documented. It is funny because I was looking through it, and since the book is the very early 2000s, you still see a lot of VHO setups, a lot
that's
of
great.
halide setups. This one right here has a downdraft skimmer. Yeah, carbon biofilter, refugiums. And that's funny because, well, refugiums, I know, Richard, you're always a stickler on this, but refugiums used to not necessarily mean like an algae filter. Like it was just a box that you could put whatever in there. Refuge.
Yeah, you grew algae in it, but the idea behind it was you were giving animals a safe place to reproduce.
Yeah.
And that would somehow magically fill your tank, which it doesn't do.
Yeah. But anyways, cool book.
But they're fun. Look, refugiums are super fun. but don't buy the mind story that a 10-gallon refugium on a 100-gallon tank is going to be supplying any significant amount of food to anything. They're super cool and very easy to plumb in, but they're not the mind story.
Or really that a 10-gallon refugium filled with Chitomorpha on a 200-gallon aquarium is going to do. Now, I'll grant you there's stronger lights now, and you know, people can tumble them and all this stuff, but it's just like that. It's going to make that big of a dent in your nitrates or phosphates.
Yeah, I don't think the tumbling is really worth it.
I used it. I did. I redid the
Champion lighting is the place to go if you like Champion lighting. Do 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 do. That was off key.
Champion Lighting. It's the only place online you can get Captivate products. That's another food that I fed to my baby corals earlier in the show. I do like their foods, and you know, the best thing about liking their foods is I like a mix of foods, because we like a mix of foods, and we seem to see different feeding responses from different foods. It seems like corals will get used to a particular food and not have a vigorous as response as you'd like. So I like shifting foods. What else, Ben, about championlighting.coms?
I think if you want to be a champion, that you need to look at championlighting.com. Just bring it up and look at it. See all the stuff they have. You will not be disappointed.
Do you have an update on this stuff?
SeaTac, it's supposed to be available to the common person in early February. It's easy to work with outside of the water. And I made a bunch of cool structures in a tank with it. Drives bone hard.
Very cool. I got a peristaltic pump from Champion Lighting last week for my calcium reactor.
Sweet. Thank you,
Todd.
Champion Lighting.
Thank you, Champion Lighting. Click the link down below.
I used it. I did. I redid the
Richard.
Benjamin.
So it's kind of cool because this client that I have that I used to clean his aquarium, and then he took the reins over, and he's the same guy that had the problem with the KH Guardian, and I helped him with that.
Oh, yeah.
So it's great because he really trusts me big time. So he'll bring me in from time to time, and it's actually been pretty frequent that he'll have me come in and look over. But it's cool though. I've saved his bacon a couple times, and that's why he keeps doing it. So there was a new one just a couple weeks ago, and it's just, he's smart in that he's taken it all on himself, but he brings me in, you know, right as his eye is becoming more keen now, and he just knows when stuff doesn't look too happy. He brings me in right away. So this one was tricky, and I wanted to base a whole show about it. The reason I wanted to base a whole show about it is because if you have a reef aquarium and you're doing all your stuff, and then one day you look at it and you're like, man, you know, this coral doesn't look good. You know, something looks wrong. The aquarium just basically, I've seen enough things where I know it's unhappy. So then you start to troubleshoot everything. I think that a lot of people generally think that there's going to be like one or two big things, like a smoking gun, like it's a murder scene and there's one smoking gun on the floor. The problem, and this why I wanted to make a show about this, why this was case in point, is, you know, the whole time he's sitting with me and I'm looking at stuff and we're pulling out stuff and I'm giving him judgments, and he's like, well, the overflow teeth, they're really full with this Valonian crap. You got to brush this and keep it more clear. Oh, okay. Is that a big problem? I mean, it can be if you let it get filled, but not a big deal. Okay, what do you have your Neptune Apex waves set to? Oh, they're only set to this. Okay, well, the top half of your aquarium is moving real well, but it's a tall tank, so a lot of stuff near the bottom, I see a lot of detritus when I stir it up. So let's pulse them harder, but have them pulse. He was afraid to push it too hard. I say, you need better circulation. Okay, is that a big deal? It can be, but on its own, you know, not a big deal. Hey, what's your alkalinity? Oh, okay, I tested it, and then so it was like at 10 or 11. He's like, oh, I meant to keep it down lower than that. Is that a big deal? It's not a giant deal, but if it was, straying off, that's okay. And then about the alkalinity, then I was like, hey, your Khmer doser, like, when's the last time you calibrated? I'm just interested. Oh, I don't think I've ever done that. Okay, calibrated it. It was off. It was off. Is that a big deal? Not so much on its own, but you're not really dosing the exact amount that you think you are. How often do you clean those filter socks? They're overflowing. Oh, I wasn't sure like when I should clean them. Yeah, you should clean them frequently. Is that a big deal? It's not gonna make the tank look bad, but there was a couple other things, but it's funny at the end of all of it, I was like, then he was like, well, Ben, what do you think was wrong with the tank? And I was like, man, I had all this stuff lodged in my head, to be able to give him an answer. And it's like, this is death by 1,000 cuts. Not a single one of these is a smoking gun. It's all of them together were enough to piss off stuff.
Yeah.
And that's going to make where I had that, not epiphany, but I was like, oh, what that's going to do is a less experienced aquarist is going to be like, I don't understand what's wrong with my tank. Well, what is wrong with your tank is 1,000 different things that are slightly wrong with it, adding up to be something enough to piss the tank off. Not a single one of them a smoking gun.
Absolutely. I think people have been given this idea that keeping a reef is easy because that's good for sales. And it is easier, but I've never told anybody who's asked me about keeping a tank that it's easy. And, and I'm a terrible judge of how much time I actually spend. And my wife will always come in and go, no, you spent at least 2 hours yesterday doing stuff. I'm like, no, it was like 10 minutes. She's like, no. And then she says, and that doesn't even count the time I see you sitting there thinking, and observing, and is something off here. So, if you're putting stuff on your tank that's supposed to make your life easier, you're going to have to do something to all of that stuff. You have to do some kind of check on it regularly. Once you've got 100 hit points, it's a little bit easy. But I can walk in the house and go, something sounds wrong.
Yeah.
Or go, what is going on? And that's just doing it for a long time. But if you got a new tank with modern reef keeping stuff, and you don't know what the stuff does, you're not going to take care of it, and you're not going to know when something's off. There's a lot to keep track of, which is why you start small and then grow it up as you understand all the stuff, because it's exactly right. There's, we talk about smoking guns all the time, right? When I'm troubleshooting a particular thing, something went wrong with my salinity. Hopefully there's a smoking gun here. And last thing, I think we talked about it, right? Did we talk about my salinity?
The evaporation and all that?
Yeah, and it turned out it was that the tube that went to the peristaltic pump that removed water wasn't in the water. That's a smoking gun. And you can get that on a discrete system. But on a bigger, complicated system like a reef tank, everything matters. And some of it can slide and some of it cannot slide. But if enough of it is sliding at the same time, that's LARS, what Joe Waiulo calls LARS, lazy ass reefer syndrome. Lazy ass reefer syndrome. And, the danger of getting slack is knowing that at some point you're going to miss something that actually is going to start to matter. So 1,000 cuts is a good way to think of it. There's a lot to pay attention to, and you've got to understand it.
Well, and like I said, a lesser experienced aquarist is going to want to see a smoking gun. But what I'm telling you is you've got to understand that sometimes you might have 15 issues going on, none of them representing as a smoking gun. However, those 15 issues together are the smoking gun.
Absolutely. And that's why the idea of what are your nutrients? What are your levels? That's why that is so sexy and become the thing, because you can point to it and say that, and you can raise them or lower them, right? But it's not that, it's just not that simple. It's some fucking complicated system. Oversimplifying a complicated system leads to mind stories.
Someone in our Discord said, you know, like on a forum, someone's like, help, my tank's messed up. And someone says, what are your nutrient levels? And I have to.
That's a joke though, when they do it.
Oh, was it?
I think so.
No, they were making fun of it. And so what they said was, and I was like, yeah, you know, now that I think of it, that's right. Because what they said was, you know, I've never really seen someone asking you, what's your nitrate and phosphate, it lead to anything that's like really solves a problem on a tank.
Yeah.
I mean, I can show you Richard's tank. I could show you some gorgeous tanks with, you know, nitrate and phosphate that would be hideous to some people.
Yeah, I was just reading somewhere today. It was like, well, a 50 nitrate is bad. So what are you talking about is bad? Yeah, well, sure. But yes, 1,000 cuts. 1,000 cuts. Don't die from 1,000 cuts. How do you avoid it?
I'm trying to think of a good answer to that. For me, the question is how you avoid it. For that guy, it was paying me $250 to come look at his tank. That's how he avoids it.
That is not a stupid answer. I mean, what that really answer, I mean, you and I are stupid, but that answer somehow is a golden diamond in a field of duty. It's getting somebody to consult with you about your system is a great way to do it. I mean, we offer it now, you know, that's fine if you call us up and we'll video consult with you. Not a big deal. But get, you know, if it's not us, but get any experienced reefer to get eyes on your system and spend half an hour or an hour with you going through it, because it's
if you don't have
something.
the experience or the knowledge and you're looking at this tank, I just don't get it. I just don't know. I've gone through everything in my head and I just don't feel like maybe I have that sort of experience. You know, maybe a friend does it for free that you that you know could do it, or you know, like Richard said, we do offer that service, or a service around you, whatever the heck you're going to do. Get some throw some money at someone that has probably more experience than you, and then, you know, you might be like, oh, it was like Ben was saying, it was like 15 different things that, you know, one of them isolated wouldn't make anyone go like, oh my God, yeah, your tank's messed up because your overflow teeth were dirty. But yes, if you add a bunch of things together.
Yeah, this is a problem in 3 days. We're glad we saw it right now. I mean, and it's not just for new people or inexperienced people. The reason you're coming out here, hopefully next month, is in part to get another eye on my system. And I mean, we have some specific stuff to do that I want your help with. And, you know, I'm a little loath to do the planning, or too much of the planning before you get here, because you might come out and go, that's a dumb idea. Here's something I did last week. And then we make it even better. Some of the stuff I'm going to do because there's so much of it to get done and I've got to start. But having you come over to help as a critical eye is something I look forward to. And then we'll have big discussions about what we disagree about, and we'll figure out if we're going to change it or not. So it's, you don't want to death by 1,000 cuts, which is another reason I recommend starting small. You know, then you've got fewer cuts. But like, and this is what makes me not recommend filter socks, because so many people do exactly what this guy did. What's the point of a thing that's overflowing? And I kind of want to go, how can you not know that that's not good? You know?
They're just the mesh ones, because every time I touch a tank, I always change the felt with mesh.
You let the mesh ones let those get clogged?
Yeah, but still, a filter sock that has water running over it. And again, I'm not trying to make fun of anyone, but it's just like, all you do is go like that and go, a mechanical filter that is overrunning is not mechanically filtering.
And I think I just want to tag on the important point there about not making fun of people. we're not really making fun of people. We talk about this all the time, that we totally understand that people who don't have the experience, why would they know something? Right. So, you know what I mean? It's even the thing that's the most obvious, like the one we just said, it's, there are some things that make smack yourself in the head sense as soon as they're pointed out, or as soon as you ask a question out loud, you go, oh shit, of course that's the answer.
I do it all the time.
So I'm not making fun of people who don't know stuff and make what we consider to be, dumb mistakes. Everyone has to learn. We made our share of dumb mistakes. We're smacking our heads about it because it seems like in this day and age, I think we're just surprised that they still happen.
Or, or you do something for a living for like 25 years. And you catch yourself because you don't want to be rude to anyone. But yeah, and you're like, how do you not know that a mechanical filter is not supposed to overflow? But I don't say that to a client. But anyways, I was going to say, like, I used to skateboard. And I remember one time we're standing around, we saw a kid tried to do a kick flip, and it was doing it wrong. And my friend was like, oh, look at that idiot.
Right.
I remember I pushed him and I was like, dude, we all couldn't do a kick flip at what, how did we get here? Like, now, stop, man.
Now between us, we're going to go, damn, you should be able to fucking figure out to clean a filter sock. Right.
Yeah.
But we're not, it's more like taking the piss rather than actually feeling like you're stupid, you know? And so, if you get in the Discord and someone takes the piss, have the most generous interpretation of what everyone is saying, because, it is the frustrations that longtime people see are real frustrations. We just don't want to really take them out on people. That's just my disclaimer. We're still going to talk about it like it's stupid, but no one's got anything against this guy for not knowing. In fact, I got to have all kinds of props for this guy because he bothered to bring you in because he wants to learn, and you say he's getting better.
Yeah, and that's what I told you too, is like, if you want to throw $250 for 1 hour of me looking at your tank, I'm not going to disparage you. Bring it on.
Right. I'll disparage him. But look, we're talking about is coaching, right? Yeah. And, in almost every other hobby, you get coached. When I was learning to glass blow, there are people around me all the time saying stuff. Now, a lot of it's stupid shit. And hopefully you have someone smart who comes over, like my pal Joe Cariotti, who is one of the 3 people that are responsible for my glass making. Somebody said, to do this. And then he just walked over and went, don't ever do that. I'll talk to you later. And it's like, got it. Great. Oh, okay. Because
I've done that at Petco before, buying dog food. And I'd walk by the aquarium thing. That happened before. And I overhear someone talking. I'll wait for them to leave. And I'm like, hey, I'm not trying to steal someone's thunder, but I'm just saying, don't ever do that.
Right. And so it happens in every hobby, kiteboarding, you go out and, people on the water are watching you, people on the land are watching you, and then you have conversations about stuff afterwards. I think the difference with all of this is it's hands-on. It's right there. So the idea of finding someone who can come and coach you or help you or mentor you, but with real, get them to see your system so they can know what's going on.
Well, I just want to say before we move on, and this is a bit self-serving, but in case someone was not aware, you can find on our website that we do offer that service. I'm just saying, if you're having troubles and you don't have that person in the city or town that you're in, whatever, we do offer that. So I just want to throw that out there.
Sure.
Richard, I believe that you have a beef.
I do have a beef. I remembered it. That's why I wrote it down partway through the show. I was like, and when you billboarded it, I was like, I don't remember what my beef is. Yeah. I just wrote in our Slack channel, I have a beef if there's time, but I didn't write what it was. Because I thought we were recording yesterday. That's why. But I remember what it was. So Reef Bum did an interview with Hunter Hammond, and they were talking about the LGBTQ plus stuff that happened, that Reef to Reef is still stopping discussion of it and things like that, and happened with atheism or whatever. But this is specifically about LGBTQ. I was decided that I wanted to talk with some of the people who I thought were missing the point in the comment section over there. Right. And then Scott, actually, he was watching it. And he sent me a note, which was very nice, because he said, thank you so much. It's so nice when an ally does this, because it's fucking exhausting. And so I went around with this guy, like 28 comments. And I think I've decided I can't, it's not going to happen. He's just having a different conversation. And I don't know how to do that. And I'm fucking exhausted with that. I can't imagine what it is like to be LGBTQ plus and have to have these kinds of exhausting discussions with people all the time.
Well, you and I can let it go and we can decide when we want to have that or not.
Right.
But if we were LGBTQ, it's just like, God, constant anxiety.
Yeah. So my beef, I guess, can be boiled down to, look, if you see the words LGBTQ, that's like saying my family. That's, you know, it's not about sexuality. It's an affinity group. Get over it. They're not trying to fuck you. They're not trying to fuck your children.
Convert you.
Trying, you know, in the threads that were on Reef to Reef, they weren't about anything but community and reef keeping. That's it. So that's my beef. Get over it.
Someone in our Discord made a point that, so I love to talk, okay? And there's certain times that I'll shut my mouth, and
Lies!
there is
Lie.
no, in our Discord that you made the thing where the LGBT community can sort of, talk about
the civil action channel.
Yeah, can sort of talk about their stuff. And it's like, that's something where I don't have input. No one needs to necessarily hear what I think. That's a scenario where I need to shut up and listen, because it's not my world.
Right.
And I was listening to him. I was like, holy shit. And it's not like I didn't know this, because I have a gay uncle that came to live with us a long time ago. And that was where I pivoted off of, some normie feelings or whatever, listening to my uncle and being like, oh, because before him, I didn't have a lot of exposure to it. But someone in our Discord was talking about how, saying, in our community, meaning the LGBTQ community, is like, parents have forsaken us, friends have forsaken us, also, ostracized from different friend groups and family groups and this and that. So when they did go to like Reef to Reef to say like, hey, is there any other LGBTQ reefers out there? And then Reef to Reef was like, hey, don't talk about that. The thing is they weren't trying to hook up, they were trying to find community. And that, dude, that made me so sad when that sort of like hit my brain and realized what it was. It's like we are ostracized from like the greater society. And so when we meet with common interests, we're just trying to meet each other so we can talk about stuff without being engaged about, oh, you're gay, blah, 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 or any of that crap.
And the other thing about, people are going to see it. People are forced to see it. It's like, no, just don't click it. On any forum, there's a million things I am not interested in, and I just don't click those things. I'm not going to shit on people for having whatever discussion they want to have that I'm not interested and I'm not a part of. So when you see a LGBTQ plus reefer thread, why are you even going there? It's not for you unless you were invited. It's not for you. Just like the women in reefing is not for men. Just like the North Carolina Reef Club is not for me. Don't do it. I mean, they're very nice at the North Carolina Reef Club, and I talk to them sometimes, and I love them. They're just the name that came up. But most of the time, I'm not going to go to the Detroit Reef Keeping. What do I care?
I see what you're saying. No.
I've got nothing to do with them.
I used to have cable TV, and I'd click through channels. And I would click on a channel I didn't care for. You know what I would do? I would move the fuck on.
Right. And when I don't like violent things that press my button on TV. You know what I do when it starts we were watching The Last of Us, the new show, and it's getting to the point where it looks like a daughter is going to be killed or die in front of their father. And I went, I don't want to watch this anymore, and change the channel, because that's a thing for me. I'm not going to write to Netflix and tell them they shouldn't show this. It's not fucking for me. So that okay, I guess I got a double.
That sounds so bad, but is that the Karen move? Is that mean to like harp on the Karen thing?
What Karen thing?
The Karen move is to like me, if I'm at a restaurant and I don't like what I had, I don't go to Yelp, or I just don't go there anymore.
Right.
But it's like the Karen move is to like tell the whole world that you're upset.
No one gives a shit that you're upset. Move on. There's a million other restaurants you can go to. You know, if you want to actually talk to the restaurant and say, hey, this was my experience, I thought you should know, that's fine. But otherwise, what do you care? Let people have their own. Fuck, leave people alone. They're none of your business.
Yeah, whatever.
That's my beef. Those are my two beefs. Fucking get over it and understand that they're not trying to fuck anybody. They're just trying to have friends that have a shared background that they have. I mean,
they already get fucking ostracized enough from their own family.
They're not trying to fuck anybody exactly as much as you're trying to fuck people when you're on a reefing site.
Yeah.
Exactly the same amount. And if you're a couple people I know, you're fucking assholes. Right? We know a couple people who, yeah, anyway. And then you go, not cool, and move on, right? And so they're not trying to do anything nefarious. They're just trying to have a community of people who have shared experiences. Say it over and over again. Maybe it'll become true. And if you see a thread that you think is about people having sexual experiences and you don't like that, why you, I mean, we have the disclaimer at the beginning of the show that says, we're going to swear. If you don't like it, please don't come in. And I would think anybody who comes to the Discord should know that, right? Why are you going there if they're telling you, if you know from the outset it's something you're not interested in? Why are you even bothering? I don't go to nanotank forums because I don't keep nanotanks. So I don't have much in common with them. I read them once in a while, you know. I don't go to freshwater forums and go, this should be salt. What the fuck?
Why aren't you guys talking about saltwater? This is bullshit.
This is bullshit. Why are you even talking about this?
Yeah.
Because this is reef beef. We talk about this.
Yes.
We talk because we think it's important for the community as a whole. Okay, that's our beef. That's my beef. I don't want to talk about my beef anymore.
Not only is that our beef, but that is also our show.
We end on the beef.
Thank you. You know, hey, maybe you're new to the show and you haven't noticed, but like, you know, once people, if someone watches the show and they like it or not, and they join our Discord, and we even have a membership, a tiered membership level, but we call them beefers. So if you've watched this show and you were entertained by it, you like it, and then you go back and you watch some of our older shows, you just sort of like what we're putting out. And then we say, you know, you're beefers. You come on the Discord, join the Discord, and you can further engage with us. And that's fun. I know it feels like a branded thing, and we didn't intend it in the beginning, but it sort of happened off of our name. So I just think it's fun. It's our little community, and you can join our Discord and further engage with us.
Yeah, and it is branded. I mean,
it is.
You know, Ben has more of a job than I do. So Ben actually, his time counts. So there's only so much time Ben can text while he's driving. The rest of it is he's taking away time that he could be making money. So I'm not at all afraid to say that our monetization is there. It's transparent, and it makes it more likely we can continue doing this show, expand the community. I have some plans for Discord and for the website to make it better as a resource that we're going to have a meeting next week about. You know, there's got to be some income. Otherwise it's just too much work for us. No,
I have to say there was one funny thing. Like, we haven't had too much drama on our Discord, but I think there's been like 2 occurrences. There was one occurrence where one guy, when he was leaving, was like, y'all are just trying to make money. But it's like, it's hilarious because it's like, well, we ain't doing it for free. Right. And we're extremely transparent about any way that we would make money.
Yeah, and that's why we have the tiered thing, and that's why, you know, we want to make it affordable to everybody, but the money on the Discord to get to the secret forums, that's just another gatekeeping to keep idiots out, which is that's shorthand. But you know, we had somebody on the Discord who was like, you guys are just jerks, I don't even understand what this is. And it's like, I don't even listen to the show. And it's like,
yeah,
then you shouldn't be here. I think the point you were trying to make is the Discord's cool. It's ever changing as we figure out what it is to us and to the beefers. And we'd love you to be a part of the community if this is the right community for you. If it's not the right community for you, we're not going to give you any grief about it.
not even mad about it.
We're not even going to not answer questions if you ask us. You know, we're not going to shun you. It's a thing, and we think everyone can find a part in there. We've got religious people, we've got non-religious. It's great. It's great. I love it. I love the people. I love what some of the members are doing. They're right now, they're trying to figure out if they need to fundraise to buy memberships for people who might not be able to afford them.
Oh, that is cool.
Right. And that's very cool. And I have no idea. I got to go read it and then talk with you guys. But
But you know, another funny thing.
My immediate thing is, no, we'll absorb that. Who do you want? And then it's like, no. If you guys are going to organize yourself into being wonderful and sharing with other people, we're going to let you.
Yep.
Beefers are awesome. Reefers are awesome. Everyone be awesome and be nice to each other. Unless you know that you can just, talk the shit to other people for fun.
Thank you. And this was Reef Beef, brought to you by saltwateraquarium.com, powered by PolypLab, and brought to you by Champion Lighting.
And Beefers. Thank you, guys. We'll talk to you next time.
This episode hosted by Richard Ross and Ben Johnson, produced by Ben Johnson and Snowman, edited and directed by Snowman. Thanks to our prime and gold level beefers, Ryan H., Scott C., Russell, Pedro, Scott O., Robert S., Jason C., Corey, Rich P., and James B.
If this is in the show, please let us know in the comments.
I used it. I did. I redid the.
Oh, I keep forgetting to practice that on the bass. I could play it.
Yeah, someone is gonna make us music.
That'll be fun.
John something.
Yeah. Well, tell your mom that I still have her clothes.
And she needs to get her sweater back because that shit's just been sitting in the corner of the room all
and
these
I threw
years.
that fucking toothbrush away because
it looked gross.
But she's welcome anytime.
I got my banana flask.
I think we should have 5 minutes of complete silence. So shut up. I can hear your eyes. What were we just talking about? Mind stories?
Mind stories.
He's a mind story guy. It's a mind story person. Do another one, but do it like not stupid.
And this show is sponsored by saltwateraquarium.com. While Richard laughs his head off. This show, wait, hard pause. Stop.
You're stroking out. You're stroking out. We haven't even started and you're having a stroke.
Because it looks like you're orgasming.
I am.
Okay, hard pause. This show is sponsored by saltwateraquarium.com. Sponsored by, oh God, what the fuck was that? I almost said sponsored without the S. You don't know me. This will just be bloopers, I suppose.
Not a word.
Sponsored.
Sponsored.
This show is sponsored.
Sponsored.
Okay.
Richard. You shill. You
shill.
Goddamn. All that's important to you is money, Ben.
Self-interested. Yes.
Really? We're doing a business and we care if it makes money? That seems insane.
It is.
How do you buy bootstraps? Okay.
We're punk rock moneymakers.
I snort a lot of it. So.
Here's my frag tank. Here's my office tank. Here's my coral book. And here's my purple burglar alarm.